And there
Hi,
we
Lenny.
go. Hi, Karen. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It's I hope going to be a somewhat celebratory weekend for those of us who are somewhat Irish. I say somewhat because I'm not Irish at all, but I have an Irish last name.
Yep. Well,
So I'm sure the Murphys are getting excited. Are there shamrocks in your house?
there are. We brought out the decorations this week, so
Nice.
I think we'll. My wife does a great every year, kind of an Irish corned beef and cabbage and potatoes and all of that good stuff. So getting ready for that. I'm actually not a particular fan of corned beef or cabbage normally, but on St. Patrick's Day,
Gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Absolutely.
We're more like the Irish beef stew kind of family because, I did not grow up with corned beef at all. So that was not, I'm like, can't we make some sort of a green pasta where spinach pasta works? So I did spinach pasta for most of my children's childhood because I'm like, yes, it's sort of my way of mashing it up. So anyway, but we'll see. No, it's all the thinking about it. And I think what's the saying? Everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. So anyways, I hope everybody has some fun plans.
Yes, but those of us that are authentically, I'm sorry.
Well, it's funny because one of my sons in particular, like he really identifies with his Irish heritage, and I'm like, you understand that my family is Italian and French, and your father's family is like, yes, there's some Irish, thus the name Lynch, but there's also there's I'm trying to think like all over the UK. I think there's like some Scottish. I think there's Eastern European. I think there's some Polish. I think there's, who knows if there's just,
My paternal grandfather was the Murphy. He was an Irish immigrant. So so we get it. It's strong.
It's like it's for some reason like the last name wins though in the family like this. This is one of those things that if your last name is Murphy, if your last name is Lynch, Irish tends to win. So
absolutely, as we do anyway. We go on. Well, last thing, did you ever see that Simpsons? It was a Simpsons skit on
I never watched The Simpsons, so anything that starts with "Did you ever catch that Simpsons skit?" The answer is always going to be no. I would never watch The Simpsons.
There was this really hilarious thing, like 1,000 years ago, whatever. That the Irish were the peak of civilization, right? Just amazing. And then somebody invents whiskey, and it all comes down. It's like, and then we're running around in kilts, and so yes, it's like that's how I like to think about the Irish heritage. So, but on that note, we should probably get into other stuff.
Yeah, let's just get into it because there's no good segue from
the downfall of Irish civilization of whiskey into
All right, but I do feel like we should start talking about what the Insights Association is currently kind of lobbying against, because I sat with this for a while. The Insights Association is lobbying against labor law change here in the US, obviously. And I thought it was interesting when you really read it because it's something that organization does that I think people in our audience can get lost between one of the benefits of the Insights Association, which is this type of lobbying. And I think that they can get caught up in the different event content and different kind of webinars and offerings and meetings and overlook this very, very crucial role that the Insights Association plays. Yep. So, why don't you share a little bit more about this particular law or, this law, this change, this potential risk that we're all at in the insights industry?
Yeah, well, first echo, this is what associations are for.
Yeah.
So, right, kind of primarily for advocacy, and Howard, who leads that, has done a fabulous job over the years. This is a duplicate of the law they were trying to push in California a couple years ago, which basically tried to consider anybody who is gig workers, right? Yeah. Kind of grouping respondents in as gig workers. It didn't fly in California. It's not going to fly here either, my opinion, but I feel pretty confident in that opinion. However, it is one of those things that we do need to continue to be to differentiate within our industry, And same with some of the privacy laws and some of those things. Like we are different. Robocalling back in the day, right? There's been a lot of times that we were just kind of grouped into larger issues,
Yeah.
and we are different.
Yeah.
And the so great, Howard. Continue to fight the fight, because we can't afford, even though don't think it's going to happen. The reality is they need to be educated on why we are different. Policymakers, they're not in our industry. They don't think about this stuff.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so there needs to be an avenue for us to lobby to say, nope, market research is different. The respondents are different. This is not
this is not independent contractor income.
Right. This is an Uber, right? There may be people who respondents who think of it that way.
Exactly.
That's a whole other thing.
It's a whole other thing.
It's a whole
but
other
yes,
thing.
like we don't want their income. We don't want the honorariums and incentives that we offer to be treated like salary or contractor payment. Right. It's just nope. We need to protect that. Yeah. So anyway, so hats off to the Insights Association for keeping up that fight, because it's an important one to be having.
We should, and should mention one other thing on that. Like in some countries, like for in Germany, I believe for healthcare research with physicians, like they crack down and don't allow physicians to receive honorariums for participating in research.
That's it, yeah.
I can kind of understand, especially you got a pharma company sponsoring it. I can see where they got to, but that puts a huge challenge on engaging professionals in participating in research. So we do have to. It's great that we have this nuance to think about this, because we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot or allow ourselves to be shot in the foot by well-meaning but misguided policymakers.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, cool. Anyway, so I'm glad we're talking about that. And speaking of money, let's go right into the money, because this first story we're going to share is about Bain and WPP about to sell Kantar, or at least sell off part of Kantar, break it up, sell off, I think it's World Panel, and then leave Kantar as sort of the brand strategy consultancy. I just think that's really interesting. And it popped up. It was like the first news story of this current cycle for us. And I'm like, well, there you go. So
this has been rumored for a while. It's been rumored for a while that Kantar was going to be sold for parts. And the reality is some parts already have been, right? Kantar Media, HIG, et cetera. My take on this is that it's really interesting. They're leading with Numerator and World Panel rolled up. There had been a rumor that they were going to be put together and spun off for an IPO. Now it appears that Bain and WPP, as the major shareholders, are saying, nope, we're just going to sell it. I suspect that they'll combine Kantar profiles with that, personally. Okay. I know some of the conversations I've had with folks, that's that magic combination that makes sense. And that's a multi-billion-dollar sale because of the data. Pay attention to this. You don't hear them talking about the other aspects of Kantar as the tip of the spear and the real value creation from an investor standpoint. It is Numerator, World Panel, and again, I think that profiles would fit in there because they are data assets. The data assets are the value drivers. That's how they're going to get, I think the number was $4 billion, something of that nature, for those businesses. That should tell you something. The other pieces that are left, it's just all the strategy consultancy. Those will be bought. It'll be consolidation plays. I would expect the usual suspects are looking at those. I know that this private equity group's looking at some of those. They won't be nearly the value of those data assets. That should be very indicative about where the industry is. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool point of view. It makes me want to, I'm going to bop down to the Rep Data securing some funding because I think so. It's just kind of two down, Carly, in our little list here. But Rep Data secured investment to enhance their research tech business from Mountain Gate Capital, and it just it's I think all of those investments signal, confidence in where that's headed. So kind of building on that. Now, this one might be a little bit different in feel, but because it's focused on like fraud, but it just points to what you're saying about, the money is the money is related to the data right now.
Right.
So I don't mean to laugh to make light of it, but it's the connection I just made in my head.
Yes, absolutely. Although we should probably point out why is Numerator and World Panel particularly valuable? It is because, Numerators are receipt scanning. World Panel is, panelists that are sharing purchase data, et cetera, et cetera. So the fraud component is not as significant as in traditional kind of just broad sample. Rep data is tackling that bit of the issue. So the quality component is driving both of these, the focus on quality data and how that data is used, garbage in, garbage out, right? We've been talking about it for years. The research data now is, fills AI training sets, yada, yada, yada. But it doesn't, if it's crap, then it's going to be crap outputs. So all of these things have a premium and are gaining traction because they are focused on ensuring that it is good quality data that feeds the traditional industry and the emerging kind of AI training set data.
Yeah. Super interesting. So let's go to the other kind of, acquisition that we have in this list this week, because Global Data has acquired AI Palette. I haven't heard of AI Palette before, right?
But Global either.
Yeah. So, and there's something interesting in that also, right? You don't have to be known to be acquired, like known, effusively throughout the industry right now. So UK-based Global Data has acquired, it's a Singapore headquartered AI Palette, undisclosed sum. We don't know for how much. So that's one of those interesting little details. But AI Palette has, obviously AI, but machine learning capabilities going with the robust data infrastructure at Global Data. So here we go again, like the money spot, the sweet spot really is data, AI, mashed together to do great things in the world. So interesting, eh?
Yep. Great examples of the trends that we have been pointing out for quite some time, and follow the money. Yes, we're seeing that play out now in real time as these plays start happening at kind of the financial level.
Yeah. A little sidebar in the Wire exec team chat this morning, there was a conversation around data quality and AI and bots filling out surveys and so on and so forth. And what are some of the tools to fight that newly introduced fraud from increasingly higher quality AI. And so just, we're noticing all of our use with AI getting better and better. Well, the fraud gets stronger and stronger as it gets stronger as well. So the tools to fight them, to fight that fraud, kind of ensuring data quality and integrity, that conversation started to roll around there. And I did just want to take a pause before we get into some product launches to point out that these topics are going to be handled at North America by some of our speakers. So I'm really excited about it. 3 sessions, and I'm super psyched, and I hope that we promote these on social. Carly, I shared it with the team today. There's going to be Eleni and P&G are going to be playing an interactive kind of game show thing, bot or not. So I'm really excited about that one. Fighting tech-enabled fraud with tech-forward solutions. That's a Rep Data one. So that's going to be great. Also, unmasking fraudsters. So it's interesting to me that, yes, of course, we're going to have AI on this agenda, both at North America and at Europe. And I encourage everybody to go. And I'm sure there's, Carly's sharing all the links, but also recognize that conversation, which might have taken a bit of a pause last year, not a pause, it never went away, but it was a little quieter with the AI shouting last year. It's back front and center again. This is data quality, integrity, fighting fraud. This is a big part of this year's conversation.
Well, I don't think we have a link to it, and that's okay. But the Back to This Association, they released a report this week that around data quality, their data quality pillars they've been working on right before SampleCon next week. So those conversations are happening where they need to be happening, is kind of at the base of the pyramid, if you will, the foundational elements. So that's great, but they have so many implications, to your point, as we bring them kind of upstream into the broader discourse. So there was even a little screed our friend JD Deitch put on LinkedIn. We don't have that link either, but if you get a chance, just go to his feed. It's a very active conversation that we need to keep paying attention to.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, pretty cool. So thanks for putting this up. I hope to see you all there. I take a look at this code. If you're just listening and you're not looking at the stream, exchange 30 will get you 30% off the general admin ticket. So thanks for sharing that, Carly. But yeah, really good stuff happening for both of these events. We're getting really excited for North America in particular because it's coming up now, and we're just shy of 6 weeks. We're ticking down. It's going to be a great event. Registrations are popping, and we're really excited for it. So good stuff at both places.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. So speaking of good stuff, let's talk about some of these product launches, shall we?
We shall. We shall. Do you want me to, or you want to?
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'll chime in because I think it's interesting. But yeah, share what Escalant is up to.
Yeah, well, Escalant announced their AI-powered behavioral science model. So really interesting, because I hadn't really heard Escalant in the past focus on behavioral science. I wonder how much of that is because of their acquisition of C-Space and Holland Partners and integrating that into kind of getting a little more personal. But what struck me when I saw it was that is really smart, because in the world of AI, right, that's the who, what, when, where, and how. That's pretty easy to get from the data stream, and AI lets us get there really easily. The why, which is the part that really drives breakthrough innovation, insights, et cetera, that framework of behavioral science and the tools to help feed it is really important. And they were kind of striking, it appears, the balance of they've taken behavioral science knowledge and have created an AI tool so they get the speed and cost efficiencies of kind of that contextual framework to focus on driving next level insights on the why. And I think increasingly we're going to see companies doing things like that, taking their IP, right? Yeah. That focuses on driving real impact outside of just data, but into what it means and what to do with it, and just finding AI to kind of accelerate the accessibility of it. So hats off to Escalant. I think it makes a lot of sense to do that.
Yeah, and in this release that Carly shared about it, I think they're saying in 98% of the cases, the AI generated insights align with experts' interpretation of the data as well. Mm-hmm. So they have their own kind of built-in validation of what they're doing, which I think is great. Very, I think we can all applaud that as well, because it's something that they are validating as they're building. I think that's important. We've been talking a lot about that, and they're talking about it as human-guided AI. Mm-hmm. Which really is the sweet spot of what we know. That is what is happening. Like right now, we are still guided. For now, we are still guiding the AI, and we're still factoring in our own thinking to the methods and the tools. So yeah, pretty sweet. Pretty sweet to see what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess on the flip side of that, the Info Tools report or their Space to Think paper, and they've been doing things like this for a while, so hats off to our friends at Info Tools as well. Explores strategies to elevate the role of insights teams within organizations. So those two fit together, right? Yeah. Of the it'd be really easy to be AI led insights teams where we're basically just pushing the button and getting the information and pushing it out. And some would argue that has been a large part of the research industry, that kind of functional role for a long time. Yeah. How do we elevate the role to focus on insights that move the business more strategic? And again, talking about this forever as well. The Info Tools paper kind of showcases some more of that.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And what it says in this release also is that they've taken and included some of the best advice from across their Now That's Significant podcast. And I'm like, that's really neat. That they had AI assist for that.
Absolutely. They're condensing those all of those transcripts.
I see what you've done there.
Yes. Thank you for
So,
the tip, Info Tools.
yes, thank you for the tip.
And
Coming
as
soon.
you
Yeah,
should, right? I mean, that that I think that's a wonderful example
yeah,
of how to
yeah,
utilize these tools, right? What's the difference between doing that and, you're sitting on a bunch of data as a brand and you want to synthesize the information and get
exactly,
insights out of your legacy? Data is content. Um,
exactly,
we should be
exactly.
leveraging that and trying to drive insights. It's
Yeah,
silly. It's wastage not to. So
right,
yeah, I
right.
thought that was great.
Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. So yes, hats off, more hats off to
More
them.
hats off.
So
Yeah, lots of hats.
all right, so let's talk about yes, let's talk about AI again because here we are. But
Mhm.
this, I thought this was really interesting, and I wanted to share this article about Estee Lauder using AI to streamline their R&D purposes because it's another great example of a brand that is consolidating all of their data and developing an AI agent to help their teams access it. So
Mhm.
it's called Consumer IQ. It's their new AI platform. So it's got their whole, their data hub, their knowledge management has been transformed into this. And then
80
Consumer IQ
years worth.
80 years worth of consumer data. So it's surveys, clinical trials, promotions, product usage. That's a lot, right? So all of this stuff, and it's now accessible within their ecosystem for their teams to access. So, there's details in here about how they got to it. It started off, they were working with Microsoft for the AI Innovation Lab, and then now they're working with Copilot Studio.
Mhm.
So they're working with big tech companies to do this, to get this done. But now these employees can identify trends, they can build marketing assets, they can inform their current research, they can get products to market faster, like good stuff in there being led by this brand side firm. And I just think, yep, really cool. Now the agent part of it, this consumer IQ as an agent is what I am most curious about. And I sure wish I could get under the hood, right? Because it's more than just an LLM that's, that kind of moated gated LLM. It's more than that. It's like, what is that agent doing? Because we've been talking about agents and the importance of it, but my guess is it's doing so much more that they're not talking about because it's proprietary. But
Yep, yep.
interesting
Well, and
stuff there.
they're partnering with external suppliers as well. So they mentioned Quilt AI, right? Which
Yeah,
they have a relationship with it does analysis, trends analysis from all social data and video and all those things. I'm sure that there's other research suppliers that are in there as well. So it's this wonderful use as well, the historical data,
yeah,
while also there's a constant new feed coming in as
yeah.
um, yeah, pretty
And
cool.
imagine new data going in, and the question for the agent or the prompt for the agent is take a look at this new data, compare it to data, and then do a trend report specifically using this platform. Like all of that, the possibilities are endless with what it can do. And so just from a pure analysis standpoint, you've
Sure.
got to get excited about this stuff because it's so cool to think about. That
Yeah,
stuff's not the geeks, right? I mean, this is cool stuff that these agents and these systems are allowing people to do. God, the possibilities are amazing.
it is. Well, that's a segue. If you want to,
Yeah, that's
so we'll talk
which
about the next
to
one.
which thing?
No, the Open AI and their new tools for AI agents. So I think
Yeah.
that's broaden
Yeah,
out.
well,
And that's all
what
you. I haven't gotten to the agent stuff yet myself.
you know what? Oh, and fun fact. So Agent AI, which I really appreciate, they just shared that it's on Product Hub right now, and he had shared on LinkedIn, the founder of that came out of HubSpot, and it's now like number 5 on Product Hunt's list right now. And so like super excited traction there. If you don't understand agents, go to Agent AI, and you will start to see what the possibilities are in just your everyday life. Like your everyday professional life. I'm sure there's plenty of agents for your personal life as well, but that's not my use cases right now. But you can go in there and you can ask it to analyze your website, and then create, so it's like just you don't have to give it all the steps. It does it for you. The agent basically is connecting all of these dots in what end result do you want? And if I ask you this, can you get me to that end result? So I could say, analyze my website and then write a social media post that's on brand for what you're analyzing. So you're able to connect all these data points through the use of an agent. It's very cool for some use cases. Anyway, OpenAI is introducing tools so people can build them more easily. Developers are out there doing this every day. There was one, oh gosh, there was another one that you shared also, right? That was, oh my gosh, that didn't make it onto the list. I consolidated, but it was in there where you were saying, like, is this particular agent now like the DeepSeek version of AI agents? Anyway, it's just cool stuff because there's just infinite possibilities for what these agents can do.
Yep, and expanding every day. That's the agentic model is the buzz topic for, I'm going to think for the foreseeable future, right? Because to your point, it is now it's the pragmatic application of this technology to perform tasks, versus kind of the exploratory aspect, where we've been the agents right now, functionally, right, with writing prompts and all that good stuff. Now they're going to do those things for us in very prescribed ways. And
so imagine this. I'm going to take people on a little shortcut with us. So we have operations, right? This is going to change operations in your organizations. We have operations where, Carly, who you all see, she's in the background here. She gives us the link. Lenny and I log on afterwards. She kind of downloads transcripts and she creates social media posts about it. She gets it into the LinkedIn newsletter. Like Carly's doing all this work. We're doing our thing. There is going to be a possible universe where we log in and then the output of our logging in. I'm not saying this definitively through this platform, but there's a possibility of a reality where we log in and all of the things that Carly needs to do just happen because the platform knows that's what the end result we want will be. Yeah. And that is so interesting. These savings, and then all Carly really needs to do is kind of supervise that along the way, make sure it's accurate, but she gets the end result she needs because we've gone into it knowing what the end is or what the end result that we want is. Yep. Even just having a conversation, you can plan ahead and say, what do I actually want this to achieve? It can achieve these things. That's my end result. I need to get that so we can socially share it. Cool. And it's already going to know how to link to people. The agent's going to say, oh, you mentioned, A, B, C, and D, JD, for example. It's going to know automatically to start tagging JD if we mention his name in this conversation. It will just know what to do.
Yep. Brave new world. And then I guess on that note, final, we kept saying,
share this.
Yes, that, the moat around any, AI, VR, et cetera, it's sensory. No, if you have to touch it, taste it, smell it, no, it can't be digitized. Oh, shit, I was wrong.
Apparently,
Osmo, go ahead.
We can teach machines how to smell. Apparently, scientists have figured out a way to introduce a new sense, sense of sight, sense of touch, but now we can give them a sense of smell as well. We can digitize scent. Sorry, I loved this.
And not just smelling, but creating smells on the fly, combining the molecules. They call it scent teleportation, the digital transmission of smells. So think about that. I mean, IFF, they spend a ton on research, all Estee Lauder, all these, scent's a huge part of every consumer product that we ingest. And so now we're able to do a sniff test at home through a digital teleportation of scent molecules via AI.
Or like, how there was that period of time a few years ago where all of a sudden I became aware that hotels had signature scents. This was like new information for me that I'd walk into a hotel and I'd be like, oh, it smells so good here. And then I'd find out that IFF had created a signature scent for that hotel. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know why I was having a certain sensorial experience at a hotel. Anyway, so this concept of like, I want my house to smell like that hotel. I'm not saying I'd ever be able to do that, but the idea that we could digitize that and then bring it home and use it elsewhere, that's kind of cool. Like,
and you're programming and paying for it, right? You're paying for the formula, access to the formula, Yeah.
And that we could say to the machine, the example in this video that Carly just shared is on pear, right? It's a pear scent, which is pretty light. But the idea is that it then, it goes through this teleportation. So crazy to watch this video. Goes through this teleportation and it comes out. It has no color to it or anything like that. It is just, but the scent has remained intact. If you just think about what that means, is if you're in your house and you have maybe there's going to be a device someday that's like your own aromatherapy device in your house, and you're like, I need to dial up. You know what? It's spring. I want to dial up the lilac. And then I just say that out loud, and the next thing you know, my house smells like lilac. Come on.
Right.
Like, what could be better for somebody who loves the lilac bush?
Yes. And this is, to be clear, this is not based off of essential oils or something of that nature, right? It is combining the molecules, analyzing, combining them at the molecular level in real time. Now, let's take that one step further, right? Before we end, right? As a Star Trek geek, the replicator in Star Trek, where you just, there weren't chefs in Star Trek. You pushed a button and it combined the molecules to create the meal, whatever it was you wanted, or the drink or whatever. This is a step towards that. If we are combining molecules to create scent, how much longer do you think it is before we are combining molecules to create flavor? And if we're creating flavor, then what about the substance that creates the flavor? We are heading into Star Trek future, guys, because this is the beginning of the replicators from Star Trek. I'm telling you, and it happened sooner than I ever thought that it would. I thought we'd get there eventually, but it's happening now.
Yeah, so it's very cool to think.
Live long and prosper.
I love this. I think it's cool, and I think it's interesting. And you'd say, well, it won't be that soon. Did we think we'd be here where we are right now? No. So, how soon will this be? I mean, it certainly isn't going to be a household thing anytime soon, right? This took place in probably a very expensive laboratory that we're not anywhere near the at-home use, approved for at-home use of this sort of thing yet, right? But it is certainly a future option.
I should point out, I became aware of this through an investment email, not from them, through a fund that invests in a variety of companies, and this was they're pulling together investments for this. So again, follow the money.
Yeah. Follow the money. That is so interesting. So interesting to think about, because that's that there was somebody else that shared online today, and then I think we probably have to wrap, right? But there was somebody else that shared megatrends. It was just anyway, kind of global megatrends. Just this, I think I just saw it in my feed today. But anyway, and I was looking at those and I was thinking, we have to really look at these. If we bring it back down to why these things matter, Lenny, we have to really look at these mega trends and these big things that are happening, these big advances in technology, to think about what our future is at Insights Professionals. So as you started off saying, we thought sensory testing was going to be something that was safe, and you need the human beings to go in there, but there could be a time when sensory testing can be altered because of this mega trend of digitizing scent. So here are 3 different scents. We can ask the machines which one tastes closest into or smells closest to pear, for example, because it knows what pear smells like. This could change sensory testing. So that's kind of that's the bringing it back into the so what? Why does this matter to us? This matters to us because it could really change the way we do the kind of work that we've always done.
Absolutely, good way to bring it all the way back home. So
I try my best.
Yeah, and
we can geek out for a little bit, but I don't know that everybody goes there with us, so we have to keep it real, folks.
I'm just glad I got to slip in a Star Trek reference and even a Vulcan salute into the whole thing. So that's a first. I don't think I've gotten there yet. So thank you. It was appropriate.
Someday I will tell you about a Halloween party where my sister dressed up as the famous woman on Star Trek, and we were followed by 2 people dressed as Klingons for the entire night, and I was ready to kill her. And there I was, like in my fringe dress with a feather in my hair and my like long fake cigarette being a flapper, followed by these Klingons, and I just was like, please get away from me.
You're like on the holodeck.
I'm not here to pick up a Klingon. I can tell you that right
now. For the record, I am more of a Star Trek guy, but I have a keen appreciation for more of a Star Wars guy. Sorry, but I have a keen appreciation for Star Trek for this very reason, because it's just a lot more fun for,
oh my gosh,
type of
fun
things.
Unless you want to be, the cute little flapper in her 20s. I want no part of that.
Yeah. I mean, two things I want. I want a lightsaber and I want a replicator, right? And a teleporter. I mean, between all those things, life would just be amazing. So,
my goodness. Well,
anyway, on that note.
We're all set, friends. That's our show for today. Thank you for joining us. Always, always, always. We're so grateful you're here.
Yes, absolutely. We'll see you next Friday.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Happy weekend.
Bye, everybody.